Guys, welcome back to another episode of Siobhan Speaks Social. I'm your host, Siobhan Bonds Patterson, and this is the first episode of Black History Month. But before I jump into that, I just need to acknowledge that this microphone is not real. It is real, but I don't like it. I don't like the sound. So yes, I have my Rode mic on for anyone who's gonna be like, look at this fake ass bitch not talking into the microphone. And she's also wearing blue lights when she has perfect vision. That's just, it is what it is. I understand. People like aesthetics. Either way, so first episode of Black History Month. And to be clear, I made it a point to celebrate Black History Month all year long. So if you follow me on Threads, if you follow me anywhere on social media, I just made the change back to Facebook. We'll get into that in a little bit. But if you follow me on anywhere, you'll see that I am always resharing, posting to my story, or just recreating posts from those that are sharing not only our past, our present, and just, warnings for the future. So if you don't follow me on Threads, it's the same name where it is most places, Siobhan Bonds. And one of my favorite accounts to share from is, let me make sure I got this guy's name right. The Humanity Archive is one of them. Another one, I want to say his name is Mr. Grimm. He is a history teacher. It might be Krim or Grimm. He's a history teacher, and I want to say Chicago. Other things, though, that I want to bring to your attention. If you are not celebrating Black History year-round, or if you are not indulging and learning about a culture outside of your own year-round, then yes, celebrate this month. Take this month, whether it's October, whether it's September, whatever month it is. When we have those months, I want you to make an intentional effort to learn more than what they taught you in school. Take that extra initiative and dive deeper into things that you normally wouldn't. I know a lot of times I'll be in conversations with people that watch my stories, and I mean like religiously, like I'll have 30 up there that watch all 30. And then when I bring up stuff, and I know, yes, people usually just be clicking through stories, but what I'm saying is like there'll be people who have never once taken the time to like click someone's video on their story and find out more about it. They just consume, 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 consume. And if you've been here for any amount of time, I'm really heavy on conscious consumerism because there really is no ethical consumption under capitalism because somebody's getting underpaid somewhere, somebody's getting sexually harassed somewhere, somebody's being exploited for their humanity, overworked, underpaid, that sort of thing. Capitalism is all, there's no cap on capitalism, okay? It's more money, more power, always and forever. And so the way that we can consciously slow down that and what I do personally is be conscious. Like I'm filming this on my new iPhone that I did not want to get. Like I mean it. Like my clients were getting mad at me. My girlfriend that's a photographer is like, babe, the quality of your content, like your stuff's not getting seen and you're saying good stuff, but like your videos look like shit. And I'm like, ugh. But the reason why I wasn't rushing to get a new iPhone is because if, and this is a topic of debate, the book Cobalt Red. Great example. Go Google that if you never heard of it. And it talks about the conditions that those who mine the cobalt for our batteries, what their conditions are like. And it was horrific and it tore me inside. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? Like Apple or Samsung or Tesla or whoever, they're not going to stop using the batteries, especially if they have people in there working for pennies on the dollar. What the fuck? Like, why would they do that? And then I remembered how economics works. I may be a high school dropout. I still went back and got a degree. But I may be a high school dropout that wasn't there for economics, but I do know what supply and demand is. So if every American or every iPhone user resists the urge to update every year just because they can, that is an example of conscious consumerism. Because if we stop driving those sales, then they may have to slow down production and or they may find alternative means. But either way, someone's probably going to comment and tell me why that doesn't work, but it helps me sleep at night. Anywho, with that said, we've got a great show today, and I'm going to try to stay on topic as best as I can. Like I said, we're celebrating Black History all year long on my page. I want you to celebrate other cultures as you move through your life. And let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to fly through some of this stuff because I really want to get to the end where I talk about how we're showing up on social media as social activists. But real quick, I want to give you guys a list of some Black names and authors and people that you may want to follow. Octavia Butler has written science fiction books that kind of will help you understand what the fuck we're going through right now. James Baldwin is you probably seen pictures of him and just didn't know who he was. A gay Black activist, author. His biographies are what catapulted him to like I guess, stardom in the book world. I want to have a better name for it, but one of our highly revered authors in the community. We have Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, you may be more familiar with those. Zora Neale Hurston. I'm here in Orlando where we do a parade for her. Frederick Douglass, if you're ready to cry, if you're ready to have your heart broken, Frederick Douglass. Perhaps even some slave narratives. Bell Hooks, that name sounds so familiar, and I bet most people don't know who or what she is. Go check out Bell Hooks. W.E.B. Du Bois, and I hope I'm saying this dude's names right. I want to say Ta-Nehisi Coates. He was on the Daily Show recently with Jon Stewart. Go ahead and check him out. Those are some authors that you can go ahead and dip your feet into the water and learn a little bit about Black culture. And as I mentioned before, reading a slave narrative will change your life. I have, let me see what I have. These are not necessarily slave narratives. Actually, this one is. These are some stories. This is A.J. Cooper, A Voice from the South. Let me see what time. Well, I just read something that said Democratic leader. Okay, 1892. This is a story from, you can check out some slave narratives. It'll change your life. This was one of my textbooks from when I was in, don't remember what I was studying. This is from Christian majors, or this is from the other major, the associates. Anywho, movies that I highly recommend that you should watch to help you get versed on Black culture. Things like Malcolm X. Watching that as a kid changed the way that I view things. Rosewood. One of my class roommates was one of the little boys in Rosewood, and if you're not familiar with that story, a white woman was raped and or beaten by her husband, and she couldn't tell anyone because her husband was the sheriff. So the next best thing is to say a nigger did it. And so they went out on a rampage and burnt that black town to the ground. Hanging, killing, just indiscriminately ending the lives of our men and sending our women and children into a panic and spreading out. So the next time someone tells you Black folks don't get together or Black folks can't do nothing, ask them how many towns are they aware of that were burnt to the ground because of somebody's white lies or jealousy. Okay, and with that said, other movies, Higher Learning, that one has Lawrence Fishburne, Omar Epps, and that one dude, Michael, I can't remember his name, but yeah, no, I can't even remember his name. But Higher Learning was a great, Christy Swanson was in there as well. It's from the 90s. Panther. Panther is not Black Panther from Marvel, but like Panther, about the Black Panther Party. Now, if you look up the reviews on that, one, they're low, and then two, they say it's not historically accurate. But as we are all learning, the term historically accurate, like that's a chuckle, because what the fuck? They've literally told us whatever they want us to know, whether it's true or not. So check that out. More cultural and day-to-day life movies, something like Jason's Lyric. Oh my God, that's a tearjerker. And then of course the classic Menace to Society. Are there other movies that aren't about violence and all of the atrocities that have been done in and to and from the Black community? Yes. But if you're only watching mainstream, blockbuster, Disney-esque, or at least, again, mainstream appropriate movies on Black culture, you're missing out and you're not really understanding, especially if you don't have any friends. So those movies that I recommended to you, Malcolm X, Rosewood, Higher Learning, Panther, Jason's Lyric, and Menace to Society, please go check those out. And just for some regular viewing, watch A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey, even though I hate him now. Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, and how could I forget the star of the movie, Samuel L. Jackson, whose daughter was raped by 2 or 3 white men who literally pissed all over her after throwing beer cans at her while she was walking down the side of the road. Can't remember if that one was based on a true story, but there's plenty of them out there. But on a lighter note, I'm celebrating my Black women all of the time. And with that said, I recently posted a thread that was like, I do not tolerate the disrespect of Black women, not publicly. And I said, if she's in the wrong, she's wrong. And I'm going to, I'll talk about it discreetly, but I'm not going to publicly humiliate a Black woman, especially during Black History Month, and then especially if you know our history. And that thought was inspired because I was having a conversation about my significant other and someone that works at the firm that she used to, and they were saying, oh, she called everyone racist and she left an angry, they basically called, my girlfriend told me that they called her the angry Black woman. And this person that's talking to me about her was like, yeah, that woman's not racist. I would never, she's the sweetest person. Like, what was wrong? Is she okay? Was your girlfriend really immature back then? What was different? And two things can be true. one, my girlfriend was a little less mature than she was back then, or than she is now. But then two, the lady could have really been racist. And what bothered me the most is that the person saying this, the person defending the white woman, again, not about race, more about principle, the person that was defending these people is a black woman who has been called and is known by many to this day as an angry black woman, whether she is or not. And there have been times where people have lied on her, exaggerated her behavior, and painted her out to be the bad guy. And whether any of that I just mentioned was true, it hurt me because I thought it was, y'all are gonna judge me for this. I'm gonna be transparent. I thought it was mainly white folks who had a problem with black women. Or the whole world even. If you watch The Good Place, the judge, when she came down to earth for like 0.5 seconds, she came back and the first thing she said is, wow, y'all really don't like black people or black women. Anywho, the misogynoir, the assumption that the white person, what they said is right and whatever the black person said is probably not true. As I mentioned, my girlfriend admitted that she was not super mature back then, but just that sent me down a rabbit hole of looking at how we don't, on first chance, believe the black woman or the black person. And then I thought about how online right now, one of the women, and this goes on to what I've been saying online lately, that it's so loud, it's so noisy, everyone's saying so many things. But a couple of the women that I look up to, fuck it, not even a couple of the women, a lot of the creators that I follow, activists, they all right now are saying something different. And it's very confusing, especially if you're not well versed on this stuff, and especially if you don't have the ability to think for yourself. You're like, one person that I really trust and has a great opinion on this is saying this, and then one person that I really trust their opinion about this is saying that about this, and then it's like, well, what do we even do? And this is why people check out. I want to keep it on black women real quick though. I see black women on the media. There's three that I'm thinking of, and I'm not going to say any of their names. The first one was in her car, angry, rightfully so, and she's going off on Republicans, conservatives, who the fuck ever, but she was really angry, and I felt it in her soul. But I also felt it in my spirit to maybe for people in the comments be like, because in the video she was addressing those people. It wasn't like she was venting about them, she was talking to them. So I'm thinking in my head about everything everyone said about the left and how we yell and we're so mean and we're supposed to be the good guys, but we're so judgy. And I'm like remembering how many young boys who, again, were exactly how I just described, had no idea who to turn to, who to look to, who to trust, so they went to the right, who wasn't yelling at them and berating them. And everyone's telling white men they're the worst thing ever, so a white boy is gonna be like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So I'm listening to her words and I'm understanding her anger and I'm understanding her intention, but I'm like, sis, and I think I began with, I was like, I feel your anger and your rage. I have found that when I'm trying to communicate to someone, relationship or rebuke without relationship doesn't get very far. As soon as you start yelling, they tune you out, or they'd rather learn it on their own time, whatever. But and she said, I love that for you, sis, and I'm not holding nobody's hand, this, that, and the other. And I understand, like I said, she was rightfully angry, there's nothing wrong, and it was her page. I was like, I would never tell you how to create content. However, if your intention is to truly communicate with these people, this isn't it. This is not going to work. No one's going to sit and listen to your black angry woman video and nod their head like this unless they've got some serious white guilt going on, and some people do. But you don't want people like that. You don't want the people that are just flip-floppy and on our side because they feel bad for us or feel bad because they're guilty. I want people who have come to the conclusion that they were wrong and made a conscious choice to turn away. That's called repentance even, right? I want someone with a repentant heart. And what I've learned from being a minister is that shame is a shitty teacher, right? And again, rebuke without rebellion, a rebuke without relationship breeds rebellion. So if all we're all doing is getting online and yelling at the other side, again, we're rebuking people without a relationship, so it's only going to push them further away. That's all that I was saying. She wasn't disrespectful back to me, and I appreciate that. Nobody in the comments came for me, thankfully, because she didn't either. But it's just something to think about. And being an Aquarius and being who I am as a person, I understand that the shit that comes out of my mouth sounds batshit crazy to most people, but I'm not going to stop speaking it. And that brings me back to my main thing. Like, I would never, I told her what I wanted to say without disrespecting her. That's what I mean by I don't allow disrespect for Black women publicly. What she said, I don't think is the most effective way. Do I need to call her out her name, call her stupid, call her angry, share her post, act a fool? Like, no, that's crazy. Another example, another big name that I see, she talks so badly about Jesmyn Crockett and who's the other one? Kamala Harris. And I'm not here for y'all to talk to me about Kamala's policies and how she would have done the same thing to Gaza that Trump is doing, because I don't believe y'all for a second, and I need you to examine your misogynoir. I need you to also remember that when we are women of color, and we're trying to get in places where we've never been, sometimes you have to play the motherfucking game so we can get in there. So watching so many people act like they don't know that she's playing the games, I'm not even gonna go down that route because I don't know her intentions, but that's the way that I saw it. I saw it as, damn, I know how hard it was to become a manager, to become a leader, become the president of this club, become all these things as a Black woman, and I only did it so that I could make changes, like in the church. But to see how many people don't even want your help to make changes, you know? So that's why I quit the church, and I'm happy for her that she didn't win, because all these people didn't even want her to win. And this needed to happen, as you've heard me say in other videos. So let's keep it moving. But the point is, the way that the second Black girl that I'm talking about, Black woman, Black activist, powerful Black woman that I look up to and I admire, the way that she talks about other Black women who are in spaces, who work so hard to get there, breaks my heart. And I understand that she's doing it in a way to show solidarity amongst all races and let them know that she holds her people accountable. But I think that there's a way to go about it that helps the optics of the overall situation. And one more thing I want to address before we hop off of here. I think it's really funny, and I said this earlier, how people say Black people can't come together, Black people can't even do anything. These are tweets and threads I read. Oh, y'all can't come together for shit. How y'all gonna do a rebellion? And I think it's so telling that other races, everyone is allowed to have dissension amongst the culture. But when Black people do, it's a problem. White folks have liberals and conservatives. You have sports teams. Hell, some people beef based off of the different regions they're in. But Black folks are supposed to move as a monolith and always agree with each other and always think the same things. I think our diversity is beautiful. I think our diversity is reflective of just how, do I want to say evolutionary? Yeah, evolutionary we are as a people. No matter where you put us, we're going to be dope as fuck. And we're going to have differing opinions. And our opinions are going to be through the lens of someone who has had to be a chameleon / learn how to survive in all kinds of different environments. So this idea that like we can't come together in unity aggravates me. Because it's just a false notion and it's racist as fuck. Just like Black on Black crime. Like, bitch, what about white on white crime? When white people kill white people, we don't call it white on white crime. Why the fuck do we have our own name for crime? You see what I'm saying? Anywho, so now we're moving on to the political section, and I was hoping to do this part first because I have so much to say. But Elon Musk right now, I saw a thread today from Brian Taylor Cohen. Y'all know who I'm talking about, BTC, independent journalist. And it was talking about how the IRS was actually working. They had an initiative or program that was starting where they were going to be investigating more closely the corporations that are making millions and billions of dollars. That's good news to poor people, because as a business owner, I can see a lot of loopholes that people use to not pay taxes and to get more money back and yada, 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 and make it look like they make more money than they do so they can get more tax cuts and do all this stuff. Like, I can see how easily. Side note, get an LLC. Everyone should have not everyone, but if you want an extra income, you want to like get an LLC and then do your homework. But aside from that, I think it's very telling that the IRS was on their way to making an arrangement that would have helped the everyday working class, and Elon Musk came in, he's like, nah, let me get that. Fuck you mean investigating my friends? Nah, we trying to keep that money up top. And that's what's happening right now. And so when I see Jesmyn Crockett out there yelling at him saying this bullshit's not gonna happen, and then we have another Black leader tearing her apart for reasons that I've talked about before, this perfect leader mindset, right? This perfect leader fallacy, where you're gonna find a leader who checks all your boxes. And when I was in church, I thought about this. I was like, guys, I don't have a husband with a picket white fence and 2.5 kids. I'm a mom with kids from 2 different men, and I'm in my 20s, but I'm a damn good minister, and I know the word, and I'm passionate, and I care about people, and I can say, yep, you don't fit the optics. And so then it's like what America wants is for people to fit the optics, because that's what the Republican Party is, fit the optics. You look good, you're presentable female, presentable male, okay, good, smile, happy family, great, you're gonna be a great politician. And it's like, we're expecting perfection from humans. They're not perfect, they're humans. And the person that is very critical of Jesmyn Crockett is saying that she fat shames, or she's using some sort of PC argument for why she thinks Jesmyn is disgusting, and is just completely ignoring all of the work that she's done. I'd have to do some more research to see if there's more reasons why she just can't stand Jesmyn, but she says there's a video of her cussing her out, and I'm just like, what? Why are you proud of this? From the way that I see you talk about people and put them in their place with so many things, why are you proud about that? How is that showing unity? You can still be proud of, support her, and still maybe build a relationship so that you can rebuke, if indeed it's coming out of love. And here's my pastor coming out of me. Anything can be said if the intentions are good. There are some people who I won't finish conversations with them, or pick up conversations, or give like rekindle and give the closure or whatever, because it's like I don't even care enough to do the emotional labor of schooling, coaching, teaching you. But when you do care about someone, when you do really have the best intentions, you'll do it. So that makes me question her intentions. But again, I'm not here to throw any of those women under the bus. I'm just here to show how I'm not going to be one that does it. Okay? If I do it, it's going to be out of love, or if I do it, it's going to be privately. And that's what I mean by there's no disrespect for Black women in this place. So if you saw that thread and you were confused, that's what the fuck I meant. In other news, I'm still not even sure if I'm clear what happened, but I know on January 21st, we saw Trump sitting at the table just assigning executive orders, not even looking at him, just like this, while the Heritage Foundation is just feeding him executive orders. One of them was that the federal government was no longer going to celebrate Black History Month. And then on the first day of Black History Month, the White House released a press conference, or a press release signed by Donald Trump, talking about how proud he is to celebrate the achievements of Black Americans, and this, that, and the other. And we're all just sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? Well, what just happened was he made a problem, TikTok ban, and then he fixed it. I don't want to spend any more time there. I just really wanted to highlight that he wasn't paying any attention to the executive orders he's passing, and they literally could have been an order to put women in a fucking concentration camp, and he would have just been smiling, kiki ha-ha in the camera. And it pisses me off because people said they would have their way with Kamala. The world leaders would have their way with Kamala. And meanwhile, the Heritage Foundation is just fucking the nation with no lube wire president. But speaking of Trump, his supporters, I saw a post this week by my boy Discourse on Instagram, and he was talking about some data and research that he found when it comes to Black Republicans. And it basically was saying that they don't know a lot of their history. And when I sat there, I didn't need to see his post for me to be reminded of that, but it makes sense. Because prior to the last couple of years, when I started waking up fully into my Blackness, divesting from whiteness, decolonizing, I was on the entrepreneur red pill pipeline to MAGA. Let me explain. A lot of Black Republicans, at least that I've seen, are entrepreneurs or small business owners. Now, forgive me if I've covered this in a previous podcast. The ADHD is real. But basically, when you go to networking groups and you start surrounding yourself with other business owners, and they start telling you, well, you got to think like this, you got to do this, and you want everybody's money, you don't want to think like that. They're teaching you how to think like a colonizer. They're teaching them how to think like colonizers, and they don't know any better, so they're going right along with it. Like, yeah, we should all be equal, and yeah, we shouldn't worry about this. Case in point, I have a former friend that is Black and Haitian, or Dominican and Haitian, grew up in the Bronx, grew up poor, but started his own six-figure business, and is not, like, for someone that grew up from the slums, this person moves with so much apathy for his fellow man that I couldn't stand to be in a friendship with him even from afar. And he messages me because he noticed that I distanced myself, and I mentioned politics as a reason for my space, and he lets me know, like, hey, that's crazy. You should know that these politicians don't care about you, but we have an actual friendship, and if you don't think about politics, it doesn't affect you. And I was like, sir, You packed up and moved to Dominican Republic so that you could live cheaper. I feel like the cost of living affected you via like that's a political thing. When you become an entrepreneur, if you want to get to the top fast, like if that's your goal, then you're gonna have to lose a lot of your humanity because that's how capitalism works, as we talked about before. So to listen to Black Republicans or people of color and just listen to how they have been sold this idea of getting rich and abandoning your own life because it goes so streamlined. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to do things you've never gotten, or to get things you never gotten, you got to do things you never done. And before you know it, all this mindset shifting, all this changing your beliefs, all this rewiring your subconscious, all this rewiring your mind for success, and you look up and all you've done is rewire your mind to think like a colonizer. I just thought that was worth sharing when it comes to Black Republicans. And if they're not entrepreneurs, 9 times out of 10, they are pick me energy. They are, I'm a good one, look at me, I'm pretty, please love me. Please tell me that I'm pretty even though I'm Black. Please tell me I'm smart even though I'm Black. Please accept me into this club because I don't get accepted by my own because I don't talk Black enough for them, so will you guys like me? That's what it is. And it all boils down to them needing to work on themselves, which brings me to am I done yet? Are we concluding yet? Let me check these notes. Hell no, I gotta wrap this shit up. I've been on here for almost 30 minutes again. We all need therapy. We all need so much therapy, not just Black folks, but everybody. We all need a significant amount of therapy because all these issues that I talk about on this podcast can always be traced down to some sort of psychological issue, some sort of hurt child, some sort of inner child healing, because your childhood trauma becomes your adult drama. Yes, that's going on a shirt. Don't you dare take that phrase. If you do, my sister's a lawyer. I'm gonna come for you. Your childhood trauma becomes your adulthood drama. And that is what we're dealing with. A bunch of adults walking around traumatized with no therapy and no healing tools, no self-soothing, no emotional regulation. With that, I'm gonna take a sip of Celsius. In other news, though, swinging back to my girl AOC, I just want to give her a shout out because she was also down there with Jesmyn Crockett and the other Democrats. And before I act like I just hate the Democrats because I'm not very proud of them, it's about time they actually did something. And I think the reason why it's been taking so long is because they're all old as fuck and they don't move as fast as we do. And they're still trying to fight the fight of like their day. And they don't realize that we fight a little different now. Even in the Bible, it said you're not going to be fighting like how y'all used to. It's going to be spirits, principalities. And we're literally watching the principalities are what's ruling, the evils, the greed, the ego, the patriarchy, you know what I'm saying? Like the violence, like that's what we're fighting against right now. And I was up at 3 o'clock this morning. I couldn't sleep. My girlfriend also got out of bed, and so that woke me up. But I couldn't sleep because I just kept hearing in my head, yes, Kamala's husband is an Israelite, is Jewish. So chances are they would still always side with Israel. What we don't know, though, is, as a female leader, how she's going to be more peace focused. Because if you understand, this is not about gender. If you understand the energies of masculine versus feminine, feminine is very creative, very collaborative, very inclusive. And when women get power and money, if you look at how we spend it, it usually goes towards some sort of like health programs, nutrition, things that make the community better, not bombing people. Anywho, all I'm saying is her presidency would have bought us all more time. Her presidency, like, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that's what I woke up at 3 a.m. thinking. Her presidency would have bought us more time. Is that a good thing? Because as I mentioned on my reel today, we got complacent. When I showed a video of Trayvon Martin and reminded y'all how he would have been 30 today, he was our martyr. He woke us up because some of us got too complacent because we had a Black president. We thought we won. So yes, her presidency would have brought us more time, but is that good? Right? That would have just prolonged the inevitable. We would have gotten more comfortable and people would have gotten more bold and more loud and more crazy. So there's that. Is that what we needed? Would we be better off if she was president right now? Yes, as far as legislation goes and economy and this and that. But we know how Americans are, how coddled we are. Would that have been for the best? That's my true question. So you sit with that, and while you do, I'm going to look at how I'm going to run through the rest of these topics and maybe get in here because I know that you guys' time is precious, and I just want to tell you, as much as I can, but we'll probably end up doing another episode. So I want to hear in the comments though, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like we were complacent? Do you feel like this is the wake up call we need? Keep in mind, I'm thinking big picture, not just right now. Like, yes, right now fucking sucks, but as a whole, as a people, yes, we would have bought Palestinians more time, we would have bought trans more time, we would have bought a lot of us more time, but would we have just been prolonging the inevitable? That's my question. Whew, excuse me. But bringing it closer to home. Bringing it closer to home. My son, and this is a recent thread, he applied to Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which is, it's called FCA, and they told him that he couldn't because of, he doesn't believe their fundamental truths. And you can check that reel out. I don't want to spend too much time here, but it was funny to see the responses to people, because it's some of the same types of people that respond to my fitness content or money or politics or just anything. It's always angry men with no pictures or angry men with private profiles. And it's so interesting because I'm like, in every situation, they're doing the same thing. They're ignoring the scripture, or they're ignoring the context. They're ignoring a lot of things, and they're also ignoring and refusing to do the introspection. Like when they throw their arguments at me, or when they try to tell me that I'm wrong and I flip it back on them and ask questions, they're not able to answer those questions. And there's an inability to participate in introspection. And I think that is something that's kind of a common denominator for the masculinity that is toxic, or the masculinity that is unhealed, or the masculinity that is wounded, all rampant through the world, is this inability to practice introspection, self-awareness. Because for us, women, or anyone else, awakened individuals who do practice this introspection, it hurts. It's humbling. It's embarrassing. And then you grow, and then you have empathy for one another. And this is the only thing that I can think of when I see this level of apathy, right? Here's a quick little Bible lesson. One of the cool things about the cross is that it represents, it's a symbolic reference of up and down, man being reconciled to God vertically. The horizontal, man being reconciled with man. The ministry of Christ was all about reconciliation. And you can't be reconciled to man and God if you're not first reconciled with yourself, right? If you're still living in a fake world where you're not being real with yourself, then you're also not being real with God, and you're also not being real with anybody else. And so when I look at these people who get online and are so angry and are so loud at women who they feel they can yell at and put in their place, I'm like, buddy, you're not mad. You're very triggered for what you're reading right now. You're projecting. There's something that I said that has triggered you, and you don't quite know what it is because you don't do any introspection. So rather than self-reflect, you project that emotion back onto someone else. And this is what I mean by we all need healing. The person that denied my child FCA, that was his own internal conflict with homosexuality, because that's not on the FCA website. So that's weird, right? Super weird. Okay. All right. And last thing I'm going to cover today, I was going to talk about the Grammys, but that's not really my place, besides the fact that, like, actually, I will say this. When it comes to social media, and this has nothing to do with the Grammys. When it comes to social media, one of the things that has been irking me lately, while we're on the topic of this, is the lack of integrity when it comes to posting. If I get an article that I don't think is all the way accurate, and when I'm replaying it and editing it, if I hear that it doesn't sound authentic or integral, I'm gonna delete it. Because I'm like, that's not great. I don't need this coming back. I may run for office in the future. I may run for president, who knows? But I don't need them being like, oh, she's a liar, or she manipulates the truth. There's enough craziness coming out right now that we don't need to manipulate the truth in any way, shape, or form. So left-wing creators, black creators, like, I need y'all to not, oh gosh, ADHD came in. I know why this came. One of the black women that I follow that, like, I'm not going to publicly rebuke, but I'm gonna be like, hey sis, like, what is this? There was a video where the Cubans were singing, oh, we love Donald Trump, we love Donald Trump, we love Donald Trump. And then there was another video of Venezuelans crying, and then everyone's laughing, and da-da-da. I'm like, Cubans were singing, not Venezuelans. And they're like, it's the same thing. And I'm like, no, it's not. If Haitians, Africans, Jamaicans, Dominican, like, if they don't like being lumped up, like, if we don't like that, so why would you do that to somebody else? And I didn't like her doing that, but I also didn't tell her she was a monster, an idiot. I just made a comment. It was like, those are two different videos. And her response let me know what kind of creator she is. And now I get to choose how I consume her content. Now I see it more as entertainment, as less informative and more entertainment. I hope that when you guys consume my content, you get like you feel a little bit of both. You're entertained because you're learning, and then I'm also challenging you. And now I think I'm finally ready to wrap it up. On that note, if you will, I get asked, are you going to have any interviews? Do you have people on your show? Do you have people on your last show? And what I just mentioned about integrity and the information that I present is one of the reasons why I don't want to have people on my show. Two quick stories and we're out. When I was a pastor, when I was a youth minister at this church, we had an evangelist come, as we often do, and the head youth pastor asked me if they could have me on stage, share my story. I was like, they're DEI. I was like, oh my God, she's been through everything. Get her up there. You're never gonna believe what she's been through, person. So I get up there, and this man has me holding a sign. I told him my life story, hoping that he would use discretion, and instead he got up on stage. We had a few other youth ministers up there, my homeboy that used to sell drugs, and another homeboy, whatever. We're all holding these signs. My sign said shame, his said drugs, whatever. And instead of like saying the pain I went through, he goes, they called her a whore because she had sex, and da-da. And my son is in the crowd. My oldest son is in the crowd. One of the most humiliating moments of my life. Not for me, but for my son. So I learned, and he came dressed as the cool hip youth pastor, and everybody thought he was dope, but he did that shit. So I've learned that people go rogue and that not everybody is safe for my community, right? Another reason, I did a podcast with a young entrepreneur, and he was so unorganized. He was so disrespectful of my time. He was recording at the mall, didn't have a microphone. Wi-Fi is going in and out. Sounds bad. His internet cut off once, not once, but twice. And I was like, dude, we can redo this again. And he just kept on. And finally, when I went back to edit the show, I was like, this isn't quality. He's not saying anything worth time, worth my people listening to. So I reached out to let him know I would not be airing that episode. And then I asked, are you interested in feedback for why? And he immediately said no. If you can't take critique when you're on a platform, and I know it's hard, trust me, I get critique every day from multiple people. It's part of the game. But you reached out to me to get exposure, to come on my show, which means you either value me or you think I have something to offer. But apparently that wasn't, you don't value me because you don't value my opinion, so you were just using me. Either way, I don't have time for that. It's about protecting my community, but it's also about protecting my energy. And I get the same question about why I'm not posting every single day or why I'm not more consistent with social media. I played that game, right, where you're posting all of the time just because I do have natural like inspiration. Like I want to talk about stuff all the time. I have a fire in me most times. And when that happens, you'll see me pump out 4 or 5 pieces of content a day, and then I might not post anything for like a week or 2 because that's just how my battery operates. But I went the route of rapid growth, and I chose peace instead. Because when you do anything rapidly, whether that's get rich, whether that's lose weight, whether that's grow a lot of followers, whatever it is, if you do something rapidly, like you do a quantum leap, right? You're missing the learning lessons that were supposed to be in there that would have helped you along the way. So I no longer value fast growth as much as I value steady, solid growth. Look at Kendrick Lamar, and I talk about him so much. This man has been making hits, and not even hits, art, for the past 15 years. And now that he's in front and center and we all know who he is, guess what? We all can go back and binge 15 years worth of beautiful art that is timeless. That's what I want. I don't care about getting to 10,000 followers or 1 million followers or anything like that, especially not overnight. I want when y'all come to my page, you be like, oh shit, she's been here dope saying this shit from day motherfucking one, because I have. So when you're looking at the world and you're looking at how you want to do things, I want to challenge you for a couple things. One, what is your intention? Just like there's so many angry creators out there right now, rightfully so. When you're making content, when you're starting conversations, when you're reposting stuff, when you're talking down to people, whatever it is, I want you to remember your intention. And if your intention is to make a difference, like change the route that the country's taking, perhaps we might want to be a little bit more strategic in our discussions. Another thing I want you to pay attention to, especially if you're a woman of color, you don't have to go fast. You don't have to be extra loud or angry. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But for me, going slow and taking my time as I build and I grow my community, it's my form of resistance, and it's also my way of paying homage to my ancestors who did not have the option to grow or go slow. I also just want to remind you guys to be fire starters wherever you are. You don't have to have a podcast. You don't have to have a big platform. You don't have to grow quickly to 1 million followers. You don't have to have any of these things that other people have. The point is that you are starting conversations. The point is that you are doing what you can with what you have. If you want some inspiration on how to be a local activist or a small activist in your own community, check out this speech, award-winning speech that I did. It was called the Wake Up Call / Put Me In Coach, and I'll leave the link in the show notes for you. But I want to challenge all of you guys to show up authentically, but also listen to your energy so that you don't burn out. But also, what is your intention? So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's show. Thank you for bearing with me. You know that I'm all over the place. I will probably be dropping another one before the end of this week because there's just so much stuff happening. And with that said, do not let the overwhelm get to you. Stay true, stay blessed, peace, love, and protein. Happy Black History Month. And I will see you guys next time on Siobhan Speaks Social.